When Lord Krishna grew up, he began uh, he began to turn himself backside up. He did not merely lie down on his bed. And another function, he was observed by Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj on Krishna's first birthday. They arranged for Krishna's birthday ceremony, which is observed in India by all Hindus, irrespective of different sectarian views. All the cowherd men and women were invited to participate in the jubilant celebration. A nice band played, and the assembled people enjoyed it. All the learned Brahmanas were invited, and they chanted Vedic hymns for good fortune of Krishna. During the chanting of Vedic hymns and playing of the bands, Krishna was bathed by Mother Yashoda. This bathing ceremony is technically called Abhisheka, and we also are able to see Abhisheka in our temples on various festivals like Snan Yatra of Lord Jagannath, like that. And even today, this is observed in all temples of Vrindavan on Janmashtami Day, or the birthday anniversary of Lord Krishna. On this occasion, Mother Yashoda arranged to distribute a large quantity of grain, and first-class cows decorated with gold ornaments were made ready to be given to charity to learned, respectable Brahmanas. Yashoda took her bath and dressed herself nicely, and taking child Krishna, duly dressed and bathed on her lap, she sat down to hear the Vedic hymns chanted by the Brahmanas. While Mother Yashoda was listening to the chanting of Vedic hymns, the child appeared to be falling asleep, and therefore she very silently laid him on the bed. Being engaged in receiving all the friends and relatives and residents of Vrindavan on that on that holy occasion, she forgot to feed the child milk. He was crying, being hungry, but Mother Yashoda could not hear him due to various noises. The child, however, became angry, and because he was angry, he began to kick his feet just like an ordinary boy. Baby Krishna had been placed underneath a hand driven cart, and while he was kicking, his legs accidentally touched the wheel of the cart and it collapsed. The cart was the cart had Shaktasur had taken the form of the cart, so Shaktasur met his end at that time. Various kinds of utensils and dishes made of brass and other metals had been piled up on the handcart, and they fell down with a great noise. The wheel of cart separated from the axle, and the spokes of the wheel were broken and scattered hither and thither. Mother Yashoda and all the gopis, as well as Nanda Maharaj and cowherd men, were astonished to see how the cart could have collapsed by itself. All the men and women who were assembled for the holy function crowded around and began to suggest how the cart might have collapsed. So, no one could ascertain the cause, but some small children who were engaged in playing with Krishna, they could see that Krishna had stricken his feet against the wheel. They assured the crowd that they had seen how it happened with their own eyes and strongly asserted the point. Some were listening to the statement of the small children, but others said, how can you say that Krishna has broken the cart? He is so small, he cannot do like this. The coward men and women could not understand that all powerful personality of Godhead was lying as a baby. While the discussion was going on, baby Krishna cried. Wah! Without remonstration, Mother Yashoda picked the child up on her lap and called the learned Brahmanas to chant Vedic holy name hymns to counteract the evil spirits. At the same time, she allowed the baby to suck her breast. If the child sucks the mother's breast nicely, it is to be understood that he is out of all danger. After this, the stronger coward men put the broken cart in order and scattered things were set up nicely as before. The Brahmanas therefore began to offer oblations to the sacrificial fire with yogurt, butter, kusha grass, and water. They worshipped the supreme personality of Godhead for good fortune of the child. The Brahmanas who were present at that time were all qualified because they were not envious. They never indulged in untruthfulness, and they were never proud that they were Brahmanas. They were all bona fide Brahmanas, and there were no reason to think that their blessings would be useless. With firm faith and qualified Brahmanas, Nanda Maharaj took his child on his lap and bathed him with water mixed with various herbs, while the Brahmanas chanted hymns from the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, and the Samaveda. These are the four Vedas. Nanda Maharaj also had full faith in the Brahmanas. Therefore, he allowed to perform ritualistic ceremonies chanting the Vedic mantras. As the Brahmanas chanted, he performed the ritualistic ceremonies. Second time, Nanda Maharaj again gave them huge quantity of grain, many cows, and all the cows which were given in charity were covered with nice gold embroidered garments, and the horns were bedecked with gold earrings. He gave so many cows just for the welfare of his child. One day, shortly after the ceremony, when Mother Yashoda was patting her baby on her lap, the baby felt too heavy, and being unable to carry him, she unwillingly placed him on the ground. After a while, she became engaged in her household affairs. In some books, it is also said that she had went to turn off the gas as the milk was boiling. At that time, a servant of Kamsa, known as trvanarta, as instructed by Kamsa, appeared there in the shape of whirlwind. The next slide. As you all can see that whole Vrindavan was covered with dust, so no one could see anyone. No one could see each other or even themselves. So the Trinavat demon went high into the sky with the baby Krishna on his shoulder. But the baby, next slide, the baby assumed such a weight that suddenly he couldn't go any further, and he had to stop this whirlwind activities. Baby Krishna made himself heavy and began to weigh like a big mountain. He tried to get out of his clutches, but was unable to do so. His eyes popped out from the sockets. He was unable to do so because Krishna had held his neck very tightly and also had become heavy. Crying fiercely, he fell down to the ground of Vrindavan and died. The demon fell exactly like Tripurasur, who was pierced by the arrow of Lord Shiva. Trinavarta hit a stone slab and his limbs were smashed. His body became visible at the inhabitants of Vrindavan. When the gopis saw the demon killed and child Krishna very happily playing on his body, they immediately picked up Krishna with great affection. They got afraid that Krishna should not get any injury. The coward men and women became very happy to get back their beloved Krishna. At that time, they began to talk about how wonderful it was that the demon had taken the child to devour him but could not do so. Instead, he fell down dead. Ha ha ha. Some of them supported the situation. This is proper because those who are too sinful die from their sinful reactions, and child Krishna is pious. Therefore, he is safe from all kinds of fearful situations, and we too must have performed great sacrifices in our previous lives in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, giving great wealth in charity, and acting philanthrop- philanthropically for the general welfare of men. Because of such pious activities, the child is safe from danger. These words were said by the gopis, so I read it as it is. The gopis assembled there spoke them among themselves. What sort of austerities and penances we must have undergone in our previous lives. We must have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, offered different kinds of sacrifices, made charity, and performed many welfare activities for the public, such as growing banyan trees, etc. After this incident, when Yashoda was nursing his child and patting him with great affection, there streamed a profuse supply of milk. And when she opened her mouth of her child while with her fingers, she suddenly saw the universal manifestation within his mouth. It is said that Yashoda Mata had seen two times the universal form in mouth of Krishna, but both the times she had forgotten due to Maya. She saw within the mouth of Krishna the whole sky, including the luminaries, stars, and all directions. The sun, moon, fire, air, seas, islands, mountains, rivers, forests, and all movable and immovable entities. When Mother Yashoda saw this, her heart began to throb. She murmured within herself, "How wonderful is this!" She could not express anything, but simply closed her eyes. She was absorbed in wonderful thoughts. Krishna showing the universal form. She was absorbed. Krishna's showing the universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even when lying down on the lap of his mother, proves that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whether he is manifested as child on the lap of his mother or as a charioteer on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Hare Krishna. So now there are some questions. If you have any questions, please ask. Anybody has questions?
No, Didi.
Didi, please display the question one by one. How many opulences does Krishna have in full?
64 opulence.
How many?
64.
There are 6 opulences.
Let everybody answer.
Okay.
Chitra, wait.
Complete wealth, complete renunciation,
Knowledge.
complete knowledge, complete complete
Duty.
strength, complete strength and complete beauty.
Number them. How many? Tell the number. How many are there? 6. Yes, 6 is the correct answer. Wealth, strength, fame, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation are incomplete with Krishna. Next question. Why were the Brahmanas present at Nanda Maharaj house qualified?
Because he wanted to kill Krishna.
Kill Krishna?
Wait. Geet, you see the question. The question is
Because it was Lord Krishna's birthday.
Why were the Brahmanas qualified but?
Because it was the first birthday and
No, because they did not had pride. Nowadays we see that Dhongi Babas, they are pride of themselves, we know everything. But they are not the real Brahmanas.
okay. Janvi Devnath, you want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to say that the Brahmanas were qualified because they were not proud of their knowledge and they were not proud that they were Brahmanas. They were, that's why they were bona fide Brahmanas.
Very good.
Next question, last. Didi, also there is one more point. That is the same question. In this line, as a charioteer, where do you see Krishna as a charioteer?
Partha Sarthi,
Charioteer of Arjuna.
Yes, correct.
charioteer of Arjuna.
Correct. The story is over. What do you have to shout?
Krishna, Krishna.
Krishna.
Hari bol. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Very nice presentation, Chitra. All of them were involved.